Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing the full review on the Bissell Powerforce Helix Turbo Model 68C71. This is a model that has been discontinued now for about, I want to say about 9 years at this point. In fact, this is actually the latest model. This was made in 2015. The last yet these were made before they were replaced in 2016 with the Helix Turbo. And they still sell that design, at least it's similar. The nozzle is a little bit different, but basically, this machine is unavailable. You cannot buy these new anymore. Even the Power Groom backlist has been discontinued, which is a similar machine to this, only it's blue, and instead of a turbo brush, it has a different attachment. But otherwise, the same machine. Now, I also wanted to show that this is actually the second generation Helix Turbo. The first one was called the Bissell Powerforce Bagless Turbo, and it was 12 amps. It had the much better hose that I prefer. It was an all black hose as opposed to this clear hose that you can see gets all nasty, and it had the wand built in, which this does not have, so the reach is not as good on this, and there's a few other things that I liked about it more than this. And this came out, I believe, in 2013, something to that effect, and these ran for a couple of years. They ran until 2015, and there was two versions of this. This one, which is a 10 amp, and the 68C7, which is 12 amp, and it actually advertised it right below the HEPA filter. And then it got replaced in 2016, and Bissell made a few modifications, I guess, per se, over the years. There's some things I like about the newer ones, and there's some things I like about the older ones better. For an example, I like how the older ones don't have a clear window, because I hate these clear windows that get all cloudy. They have the better turbo brush, they clean a little bit better, and overall, they're slightly nicer. But the newer ones have an improved cyclone, or dust cup setup, which is a big deal. And less maintenance. But anyways, onto the review. So as you can see on this particular machine, there's not a lot on this base. You can see it's relatively plain compared to the Powerforce, or I should say, yeah, the Powerforce Backless Turbo, which had everything. Had the 12 amp motor it showed, and stickers and everything. So you can see it has a 5-position height adjustment, so it goes from bare floor all the way to high pile carpet. In traditional Bissell fashion, the knob is very crunchy and cheap filling. Now, ignore the bare floor setting. It's not made for bare floors. It lacks a few things. For one, the wheels are hard plastic. For two, the brush is not shut off, so it's constantly rotating. And three, there's no squeegee, so this thing is only going to scatter. And I tried it on my bare floors, and it just scatters. You can also scratch your floors using this on bare floors, so do not buy this for bare floors. It's not made for it. You buy a canister or a stick vac, or just a better vacuum that can clean bare floors too. So you can see I did get this secondhand. It was at a Goodwill for $13 I got, and it does have some scratches and wear, but overall for $13 I'm not complaining. You can see it uses style 12 filters and belts, and we have a claim where it says powerful cleaning never loses suction. It does have powerful cleaning, but never loses suction is a lie, as that's actually why it was given away, because the machine simply lost suction. Nothing else was wrong with it. It was a little dirty, but the machine lost suction because of the filter that we'll talk about here in a minute. So, one interesting thing too, we don't even have a real bumper. It's just a plastic bumper that goes around the whole machine, and it does not do a whole lot as far as protecting the machine and the furniture because it's just plastic. So I'm not very impressed with this. I would like to see something like this where we actually have rubber. You see on this Auric where we actually have rubber, a rubber bumper, whereas this is just plastic. So I'm not very impressed with that. And yeah, see on this side we have our cord It's a 25-foot power cord, of course, exclusive to the Helix Turbo models and the higher-end Bissells. And we can see that there is one nick in the cord, but overall nothing major. There's no copper showing, so that's good. Now this cord, as I said, is 25 feet long, and it gets the job done, so pretty standard. Back here we have our famous Bissell power switch that's been here for generations at this point. On, off, and we have our pedal release. Now, these pedal releases are known for breaking. This one actually hasn't broken yet, but there's no telling if that was actually replaced during its lifetime, because this is from 2015, which we'll see right here. You can see it was made on the 363rd day of 2015. There's the Model 6IC71. This one is 10 amps, made in China. So in traditional upright vacuum fashion, you press the pedal once, and you can press it again to get under lower furniture. However, this is bagless, and the nozzle does lift up from the carpet whenever you are trying to vacuum low, so it's not going to be all that effective. And we can see that this huge canister is just in the way when it comes to vacuuming under furniture. You may be able to get under your coffee table, but you're not going to have much luck outside of that. Again, something like an Auric is going to be a lot better when it comes to getting under furniture. Actually, I'm going to show you the difference. This is one of the flattest vacuums I have in my collection. So I'm going to show you just how much lower you can get with an Auric compared to one of these. So you can see the Auric gets very low, and the nozzle actually sits on the carpet, unlike the Bissell. And as we can see, the Bissell's canister just sticks out way too much. So again, getting under low furniture is going to be a bit of a struggle with the Powerforce Helix Turbo. As far as attachments, you get a standard dusting brush and combo tool. I've always hated these attachments. They're very cheap, and I've seen these joints wear out, so they just flip to the brush and the upholstery side freely. Now the idea is, right now it's on the brush, you twist this little neck right here, and it switches to the upholstery side. This side's garbage, it's useless, and this side is okay. It's not very soft, it's very stiff, and I've seen better quality attachments from different brands like Hoover and even Dirt Devil, even nowadays. So Bissell has improved their dusting brush quality recently, but you don't get an upholstery tool, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. On the side here you have your extension wand and crevice tool. Built in the wand, so you can see it's a very short crevice tool, not very long, and then you have a nice long extension wand, and you get an okay amount of reach with this machine, but it's not as good as the older Helix, not Helix, but the Powerforce bagless Turbo, which for whatever reason Bissell really seems to have downgraded. This really seems to be the downgraded machine, much cheaper. And your final attachment, of course, because it's the Turbo, you have this turbo brush, which is a decent quality turbo brush. It's kind of cheap, but what do you expect? There's the brush itself. You attach it to the handle, the brush spins, and you can get some upholstery done with it. You can also twist this to clean it, so. And then it just sits on that turbo brush bracket. Works pretty well. Works better than the newer ones. And as far as your hose, you just pull it off right here. There we go. It is a stretch hose, and like I said, I just prefer the hose that Bissell used to give you from to the Bissell Powerforce bagless Turbo, because for one, these clear hoses just get all yellowed and nasty, and you can see the wand is very short, if you even call this a wand at all. So it gets the job done. However, the hose is mounted at the top, so if you pull it, it's going to fall back on you. So ideally you're going to want to lean this against the furniture, or use one hand to hold the vacuum and the other to guide the hose to whatever you're trying to clean. So these hoses are also not the best quality. I've seen these split. I've actually seen these dry rot right here, and they can split, so just be careful with that. You can still buy replacements. This uses the same hose as the modern day Powerforce Helix, so that's nice. Put that in, put your hose on the clip. Interestingly enough, you have a carrying handle, so that's kind of nice at the back. And as far as build quality on this machine, it's pretty decent. It's a little bit better than what you're going to find nowadays as far as the newer Bissells. But that can't be said about the pedal release. The pedal release on these break very, very quickly. Now, let's talk about the brush roll. So here's the brush roller. It is original. The bearings are okay in it. It's not too bad. Now these Bissells are known for having bearings that go out prematurely, so I'm actually pretty lucky that these are still working. You can still buy replacement brush rollers. This takes the wide path brush roller, and it works pretty well. It agitates pretty decently. Or I should say it agitates okay. It's not the best I've seen, but it does work, and it does clean pretty well, so. And we can see the dirt path is very small, so these lower hoses do have the tendency to clog, and that's another reason why these get thrown away or given away. And there's a chip missing right there. It's not, as I said, this machine's not in the best shape, but overall not too bad. It does take a stretch belt. Again, it's style 12 belts. The belt is a stretch belt, so that is something you're going to need to replace. And we have our bottom wheels, and yeah. So this machine, you can still get parts for it. You can get attachments for it. You can still get brush rollers, obviously belts, filters, and the hose, the cord. So you can keep these machines running. It's just whether it's worth it. I don't think it's worth putting more than new filters, a brush, and belt. Honestly, I think if it needs more than that, it's not worth it. If it needs a new motor or something like that, it's definitely not worth it, because a motor is the price of a new machine if these were still available. Now let's talk about the filtration, or the dust cup. So you move this lever to the side, very traditional in this older style Bissell Powerforce bagless Helix fashion. The dust cup slides out, and one improvement that they did make compared to the Powerforce bagless turbo was, on those machines, whenever you pull out the dust cup, the filter is actually attached to the dust cup like this, so it all comes out like this. And I don't like that, because if you overfill this dust cup and you end up spilling out some dirt, it's just going to go right into the motor and clog up this filter, and a lot of that dust is just going to go right into the motor, which is not ideal. I did wash all this out, but believe me, these things get so dusty. You can actually see some dust right there that I didn't wash completely out. But none of this is sealed very well, so this does get very dusty. Now you have 5 filters on this machine, which is pretty interesting. You twist this one out. All these are washable, but I recommend replacing the pleated filter pretty often, say like once a year. But you have a pleated filter behind there, and you have these 3 filters. You can see they get very nasty, and even after washing it, all that fluff just sticks to it. And then you have a little pre-motor filter right there before it goes into the motor. Just stays in there. And then you also have a HEPA filter, which you're going to want to change every 3 to 6 months. You're going to need to change this filter a little bit more often than you would on any vacuum, because this machine filters very poorly, so this means that the filter is going to get dirtier. This does use a HEPA filter, which is nice, which is kind of nice. But this filter does not mean that it's not going to leak any dust to it. It's definitely not sealed, like I said earlier. So again, just because it has a HEPA filter does not mean it's going to make a huge difference as far as improving filtration. But it is there. You can see mine already needs to be replaced because of all that carbon dust and stuff that's built up on there. See, it just clicks right back in. Just twist this filter in. If I can do it one-handed, which apparently I'm struggling to do. There we go. That goes in there. You have this inner cyclone piece, which, by the way, if I didn't wash this out before the review, my hands would be covered in dust. So I basically washed this thing out just for the sake of my hands being dirty. Or my hands being clean. But you can see, this is the cyclone. Very inefficient. It leaves way too much dust through. As a result, these filters getting very nasty. So there's a lot of parts to clean on this machine. And then of course there's your dust cup. It does have the Helix ribs, which keeps the dirt at the bottom. Then it locks. Again, none of this is sealed, so dust can easily leak through these seals, or these gaps right there. Now, another thing is, as I mentioned earlier, this thing does not filter very well, so if you really want a Bissell, just get a bagged machine, or a bagged Bissell at the time. A $13.98 or something like that. But personally, I'd rather have a Hoover wind tunnel self-propelled over this any day. Cleans better, has better suction, much better filtration, more powerful. The brush shuts off when you use it on bare floors. It is more expensive, but that's not saying much. It's only double the price. This were to sell for about $80. $75, $80 could buy you one of these. One nice thing about these older machines is that the handle is pretty nice. Very sturdy, does not feel like it's going to break or anything, so that's nice. I also like the 10 amp motor in this a lot better than the cheap 8 amp motors that they provide you nowadays, because those motors just have a high pitched sound to them. My Dirt Devil Power Express has that, I'm not going to say issue, it's just natural with these machines. They have that high pitched noise, whereas these 10 and 12 amp older Bissells just have a much nicer tone to them. And it's a lot easier on my ears, so. I also wanted to show that I did vacuum this carpet very well yesterday, and we can see it still looks pretty clean, but let's just see what dirt we pull out. The belt in this is good. Obviously, so the filters are clean. The brush roller is good. So, we're gonna go ahead and plug this thing in, and I'm gonna run it. Again, one nice thing I like about these machines is how relatively quiet they are compared to some other machines. Like the competing Dirt Devil. So, here we go. So, let's see what this machine picked up. Now wiggle it, get the dirt from the cyclone into the bin. So as you can see, yep, I expected there to be some sand, definitely some grit in the carpet. I did recently do a mess test, so there's going to be a little bit of dirt in the carpet that the vacuums are still going to get. A little bit of fluff too, looks like lint. So, see, the clean performance on it is pretty decent. So my overall thoughts on this machine. It's a decent vacuum, but compared to what's on the market, or what was at the market at the time, from 2012 and 2015, there were definitely better options. I think that Hoover has always made the better budget machines compared to Bissell. Their machines just tend to have more suction, a better cleaning power, better brush roller, and they just tend to have better attachments, especially when it comes to dusting wise. So I really can't recommend this. If you are looking for an older Bissell vacuum, just get the best Bissell vacuum that I would want to have that appears to be one of the best that Bissell's ever made would be one of the older bagged Bissells. For an example, I'm not talking about the ones that were on the market at the same time this was. I'm talking about the early 2000 models of the Bissell 3522-5 or anything like that. Those are just so much better than this because you're improving filtration and you're gaining the larger motor if you care about that. You're gaining much better filtration, a lot easier to maintain. And that's my main con with this machine is the filtration on this and the amount of maintenance it's going to require. Because as I said, the filters get dirty very quickly, especially if you were to use this as your daily driver. I don't use this as my daily driver because I'm not a fan of having to clean these filters. I like to use bagged vacuums as my daily driver because they filter better and they're just overall less of a headache. Here are more examples. Even the competing Dirt Devil, which it would have been the Dirt Devil Breeze and Feather Lights. This one's known as the Extra Light, but they're all the same machines. I would prefer one of these over this any day. They clean better. And I actually have a video on that proving that to be the case. And I just haven't uploaded it, but I actually did a video where I did a pickup test. And this Dirt Devil Extra Light with a clean filter, and this one with the clean filter significantly outperformed this Bissell. It has way less maintenance. It has that one filter to maintain, as opposed to 3 main filters, and that's not even counting these 2 other small filters. It cleans better and less maintenance, and if I really wanted a bagless vacuum that was even cheaper at the time, it would be this. Now, since I'm a fan of bagged vacuums, I probably would have picked myself up a Bissell Powerforce bagged or a Hoover wind tunnel bagged or something like that. So, anyways, thanks for watching, and there's my review on the Bissell Powerforce Helix Turbo. And never loses suction. That's funny.